the Google that you joined. What was that company like at that time?
I used to describe it when the people were asking me how is to work in Google. I said, it's the Disneyland of the jobs. I just kind of I was sometimes amazed that they were paying us to work there.
As you know, we have been really fortunate here at the Tech Leaders Podcast to feature some of the world's top female tech leaders, plus some of the world's top thought leaders in the cybersecurity space. Well, today we have another outstanding guest lined up for you who actually ticks both boxes. Google Cloud Security are pushing the boundaries of innovation within cloud security globally and are the backbone that provides protection for all GCP services. Cristina Pitarch is the General Manager for EMEA. Growing up in Madrid, Cristina followed an unconventional path into technology. She began her career as a qualified lawyer, but was soon drawn to the allure of the tech sector. After spending 4 transformative years at Salesforce during a critical period for that company, she has not looked back since. Cristina is now in her 13th year at one of the world's most influential companies, Google, in one of their most dynamic areas, security. In this episode, we discuss Cristina's unconventional journey into tech, her experience studying in the USA, the cultural differences between Europe and North America. We also explore the legendary culture of innovation at Google and how it continues to evolve today. And Cristina shares key principles of Google's security strategy, offers advice to ambitious women looking to cultivate a career in the tech space, and so much more. This is a brilliant episode with an inspirational speaker and leader, Cristina Pitarch. So, Cristina, I'm so glad to get you onto the Tech Leaders Podcast. How are you today in sunny Malaga?
I'm really, really well. I think enjoying the summer.
Yes, and why not? As the listeners may be aware, we've interviewed the brilliant Helen Kaliski from Google Cloud before. We've interviewed other people from Google generally and Alphabet generally. But obviously, you are the General Manager for EMEA of Google Cloud Security. There's so many things we can talk about. Security is such a hot topic right now, and for good and bad reasons. But before we start, Cristina, we always ask this question to get going. What does good leadership mean to you, Cristina?
Well, I think and this is a very, hot topic now after the football Euro Cup. No, I think it's a great example about leadership. You can have it from both the bad and the good ways. For me, a good leader means a person that can take the best out of the team, and that knows what are the weaknesses, what are the strengths, and that can play with them, but also can grow the team into being something better. So if you just play with what you have, like you say, you're a leader and you have a fantastic team, but you haven't done anything for them, or you're not helping them to get one, then you're not a good leader. You just have a very good team. Of course. So
yeah, of course, I understand. Yeah. So do you mean in terms of prioritizing the development of your team so that they can achieve their goals, essentially, and we call it get in the trenches with them. So basically,
exactly.
Help them on a day-to-day. Yeah. Okay.
Helping on a day-to-day and knowing them, which I think is very important.
Of course.
Knowing very deeply what do you have. I get very frustrated sometimes when a leader doesn't really see the potential of somebody. And then you see that person moving somewhere else and being amazing. And you're like, it was not that person, it was the leader. So I do think that that's a very, very important part of leadership.
I wanted to give the listeners a little bit of an introduction to yourself. So can you tell us a little bit about your early life, Cristina, and where you grew up and right up until sort of university period?
I was born in Madrid, but I lived all my life in a small town close to Madrid called Aranjuez, which is beautiful and has a castle and a river and everything. It's a brilliant place to go if somebody wants to visit. After I studied in Madrid, but I studied law and business administration, which it might sound surprising coming from an IT leader, right? and yeah, I think that kind of small town girl mentality made me travel the world. At the beginning, it was just because I don't think many people at 16, 17 know what they want to study. I had no clue. And that was something that somebody told me, look, if you don't like it, then you can really do a lot of things with it.
So I understand you did a stint in the USA. You went to business school in California. Is that
Yes,
true? So,
yeah.
So can you tell us what you learned from that experience and how that shaped you?
I studied in Berkeley. I think again, that was a change in my life completely, because I decided to leave everything I had behind, like friends, a boyfriend at that moment, everything, to just kind of go and have an experience and a dream. And it was shocking at the beginning. Even you might think English now is not that good, but when I went to California, I was close to zero. So I was going to university, going to classes, and the teacher would be asking me questions, and I didn't get a word of what they were saying. So I have to adapt to a new country. I have to adapt to a new language. I have to adapt to a new way to study. And that, I think I grew probably 5-6 years in 6 months, coming from being super protected, always with family, always with friends, to just alone in the world. But at the same time, also give you many skills, because you realize that nothing is that difficult, you can survive in a foreign town. Yeah.
Well, I got to ask you this, because obviously you're a proud Spaniard. What was the biggest cultural shock for you living in the US? Because I'm assuming you hadn't lived abroad before that experience. What was the biggest cultural bombshell in terms of living in California?
For me, everything was a shock. Little things
no siesta.
Yeah. I don't know, you see, we in Spain, we tend to kind of always dress up very much. And I saw the people going with always the flip-flops and the sports clothes everywhere they were. And I was like, you're going for dinner, get something. It was a very interesting. And then the directness on the communication, that was something that shocked me a little bit as well. I come from Spain, where we say what we think, and then you go to America, where they tell you everything is fantastic, and then it's not.
Yeah.
And I had to read between the lines, so what are you telling me?
Yeah.
This is awesome, it's good, or it's not good?
Yeah. It's a bit more superficial in the US, isn't it? It's a bit more, I totally get it. You end up working for Salesforce. Talk us through what Salesforce, what the Salesforce that you joined in, was it 2007-ish? What was that company like? And what was it like joining such a well-known, established tech giant like Salesforce?
So when I joined, it was not like that. It was pretty small, I was actually the first rep that joined the team to work in Spain. So I was working from
2007,
Dublin.
Yeah. I suppose it was quite small then, wasn't it? I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it was amazing. You imagine, it was we were all in an office in Dublin. We were around, I don't know, probably 50, 60 people, all from all countries in Europe. And we were all young. We were all very hungry. We all wanted to learn. And it was a very constant competition, but fun. They put us against, and I made amazing friends. We constantly wanted to beat each other. They had a culture of promoting people pretty quick if you're good. And I remember in Salesforce, I got promoted 3 times in a year and a half. So the motivation is incredible. And we were all it was not only me, it was my group of friends. We were all dying to do the best, to get the best results. And I think Salesforce was amazing in creating that environment. It is funny because majority of the people that started with me 2007 are still there. And now they're all RVPs and something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So was it like a sales role then? Were you targeted to engage with new prospects about potentially selling Salesforce CRM system or their software?
So cold calling, the most brutal sales role in the world.
That's the way to learn, isn't it?
Yes, where we have certain numbers to do per day, number of calls, number of people that answered you, and they gave us really good training, which I think still serves me to date. In terms of sales skills, how to write an email, how to focus a call. And then it was just you on your phone. And there you go, go for it.
Yeah. What did you learn from Salesforce as an organization? that you took into your, and I want to put a spin on this in terms of your leadership style and things like that. What did you learn from, we've established it wasn't a massive organization when you joined it, but it was clearly a growing organization.
Yeah.
What did you learn from that culture which you took forward?
Motivation. Like as a leader, and my first leadership experience was in Salesforce, where they offered me that possibility. They had it very clear that sales is a motivation game, and that you need to find what motivates every individual. Some people gets motivated by money, some people by promotion, some people by success, whatever. Salesforce was excellent on that, on knowing at an individual level what were the next steps and where would you go and how would they prepare you to go there.
So it's the framework for developing people who want to achieve, like creating a meritocracy, I think.
Yes.
Like I think creating a meritocratic environment so people who want to excel can excel and can be supported towards excelling and getting the most out of themselves, essentially. Is that kind of encapsulate what you're saying?
That is exactly it. And then I think creating always next steps. So it was very clear how you could actually have a 30 years career in that company. And there was no time, at least when I was there, in which you will feel I have nowhere to go. I do think that's so important, like that companies put time into building that career path.
Yeah, it's about progress. People need progress, don't they? And it's not necessarily about money or even job titles. They just need to have something which represents, that you are working towards a goal, and then you are a little bit better or a little bit more advanced or a little bit more learned than you were yesterday. I think that's ultimately what it is, isn't it? So tell us a little bit about, I know you had a stint with an ETL software company and then you ended up at Google. So talk us through the Google that you joined. What was that company like at that time?
2012.
And talk us through that period in your life of joining Google.
I used to describe it when the people were asking me how is to work in Google. I said, it's the Disneyland of the jobs. I just kind of I was sometimes amazed that they were paying us to work there. I mean, it was amazing. I think 12 years ago, I joined Google Cloud when Google Cloud was non-existent. So we were kind of like a team of people, 30, 40 people that were trying to do our best to develop something that nobody really cared about. And it was absolutely incredible because the feeling of accomplishment, you will see very clear whatever you were doing, what was the impact of it. We had a huge room to experiment. I tend to think for example, I like to think I'm a very creative person. And I'm constantly come with new ideas of let's try to do these things. I never had anybody saying to me, no, don't do this. Every time I was coming to my manager, I want to do this. He was like, okay, do it. Go for it. Sometimes I failed, sometimes but it was absolutely amazing.
But it was actually encouraged.
So we usually had 20%, what we call a 20% project, where you could dedicate yourself to something that goes deep to your heart. And it maybe didn't have anything to do with your job. Maybe I was working in cloud and maybe I had a passion for YouTube. So I wanted to do something with YouTube. So all the things were encouraged. Creativity was at the maximum. It was a time of everybody was saying, okay, test, fail. But if you fail fast and recover and keep on.
Yeah.
So we were still very young people, a lot of recent graduates, this was a whole experience of how to, and it teaches us a lot on how to put things to leadership, like data-driven projects. You wanted to defend that what you think was correct, it was the right thing to do. So I put you an example. I decided at one point that I wanted the support team to also start or trying to sell certain products. So we have to do a test and we have to kind of A/B test. Some teams doing it, some teams not doing it to see if the support team was happy doing it, if they were wasting too much time, if our customers were happy or they didn't like that. And then you have to put all that data together and present it to the leadership and kind of trying to sell them that this could be a fantastic idea. And as a junior person in the company, that opportunities are amazing. At least I don't think many other companies will give you that chance to present your ideas to really high leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's kind of quite legendary now, isn't it? That Well, what I mean is, I don't think anyone before Google was, obviously loads of companies encourage innovation, but very few, at that time at least, would kind of legislate for it. And what I mean is actually formally put that into the working week that you are required to go and be innovative and think outside of the box. And I understand that Google Pay came from that.
Yeah.
Other products as well. Google Maps, maybe even. I can't remember now. But it's, obviously there's so many products that have come out of Google over the last 20 years that...
Gmail, for example, came from that.
Gmail? Wow, did it? Okay, well, that's incredible, isn't it? So you joined in a partnership, and it was a sales role, I'm assuming, though. Yeah, you were...
My first years in Google were doing support, technical support.
Ah, right. Okay, so you joined in a support role, and then it seems like you moved towards sales then.
Yes.
Yeah, is that... you were missing it so much, you had to go back to it then, yeah.
Came back home, yeah.
You've obviously excelled in every role you've had. Where does this drive come from? What drives you? What are you looking for here?
I think, I'm not easily satisfied. I'm pretty... I always laugh at myself because sometimes you just need to take yourself with a bit of humor. But every time I'm like, I want to get promoted and I want to go to this place and I want to really get this. And then I fight for I don't know how long to get to this place. And the night after I get it, I'm already thinking how to get to the next one. And I was like, can I give myself a day to rest and enjoy what I achieved? But no, and it is not in a bad way because it's not something that stresses me. I think the other situation will stress me more. The fact of not knowing where to go, not knowing how to move. I am, as I said, I like to look at certain very high dreams and go for it. My experience is that nothing is impossible. And a lot of people have said to me, you won't get there. Forget about that. I don't forget about it. I keep on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's quickly talk about the sales element of your role then, and your move towards Google Cloud. Because you joined Google and then you went across to Google Cloud, yeah? Yeah,
no, I joined Google Cloud. I moved to big Google and then I joined back Google Cloud. So I have done a full 360-degree cycle.
This episode was brought to you by Be Digital. Be Digital support leadership teams to optimize cost and get more out of technology investments. Be Digital and the team have unrivaled expertise with technology license management and data remediation and are therefore perfectly positioned to help prepare organizations for AI technology capability. And on the last point, Be Digital have just developed a cutting-edge AI readiness assessment, which provides tech leaders with a platform they need to make well-informed decisions about AI adoption strategy in 2024 and beyond. Go to bedigitaluk.com to find out more and get in touch. So how did you move towards the security side then, Cristina? And can you talk us through how you ended up on that path? And what drew you to that direction, the Google Cloud Security? Because it's a very specific thing, isn't it? So why did you move towards that?
So it's kind of again, another funny story. And it was just by chance. So I was one day on the Dublin office and then somebody came to visit from the US office. And I was the most senior person on the office at that time. So they asked me, would you mind actually giving a tour to this guy that just came from US? He's part of Alphabet. Nobody really knows what he's doing, but he's coming to see the Dublin office. Would you mind giving him a tour? So I went and I met this guy, which was the founder of the security company at that time called Chronicle, which was part of Alphabet. So it was kind of like a separate company, but part of Google. So he explained me his project. He told me what he was doing. He said, we are creating a security offering that is going to change the way that the world does security. He gave me a pitch. I was fascinated after 1 hour of talking to him of this, I had no idea about security, never look at it. But immediately after talking to him, I was like, this is fascinating. So I offered him my help. I started actually working on the contracts for Europe because, I have a legal background and they didn't have any person in legal. So as that 20% type of project, I started helping them. And then after a couple of months, this guy told me that he was looking for a leader to open security practice in Europe, and that he wanted me to do that.
Yeah.
I was a bit shocked. Again, that was not what I was looking for, or like I was happy where I was, but I thought it was a great challenge, and I joined.
It's certainly a growing sector, industry. You know what I mean? It's like it's not going away anytime soon, is it? Cybersecurity, and it's certainly, obviously, in light of the growth of Google Cloud, is becoming more and more important. The security aspect, yeah.
So you think about this security 4 years ago when I joined as the first person in Europe. So at the beginning, I was like one of these orchestra man. I did everything. I did support. I did legal. I did PR. I did engineering. All the things. I was the only person in the company. So I went to a lot of companies to speak about security. And this is only
Google customers then?
Yeah,
like
Google customers
Google
or like
customers,
just talking. I wanted to see what was the feeling in Europe on the main customers about security in general. And you cannot imagine the amount of times that I got told security is not a priority, or we don't have any problem with security, or we're not going to spend anything in security because we haven't had any problem in the last 5 years. So the visibility of it was close to none. And then suddenly in the last 4 years have exploded, which is great, because at least now, it's not that at that point they didn't have any attacks, just they didn't know. At least now everybody is aware.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So what would you say are the core principles of the Google Cloud security strategy?
So, I think like our mission is to actually provide to companies, governments, and like with the same security tools that Google uses internally. And I think that that simplifies it very well. But considering that we are a company that have so many billions of customers, security is a huge priority internally for Google. And we have learned how to do it in a way that we think it could help the world. It is a battle that we are all fighting right now. And if we can provide with a way to make it easier, then I think that we will be actually achieving the mission that we have.
Can you give us some insight into how you ensure the sort of security and privacy of your cloud customers then?
So we are not. So what we keep on trying to think is like majority of the companies right now are moving to cloud environments, right? And then in the cloud environments, security is something that is shared, and it should be transparent, and it should be not complex. Security industry traditionally had been extremely fragmented. Every company will have to deal with, let's say, 340 different security providers to secure like tiny pieces of their business. What we are trying is to offer a platform that will actually secure majority of our business, of your business, without having to kind of like move providers for like these tiny pieces. And then you see security as a whole, with simplifies and like avoid people having to overwork, because again, we do have a huge problem in security. There's a huge problem of a lot of noise. There's a lot of alerts, not enough people to do the job, and kind of like not enough and a lot of technology, and so we take all that three things, we make them in one, and we are trying to solve that.
It's a really good answer. I think it seems that Google Cloud is obviously kind of a challenger at the moment to AWS and Azure, but it appears you're obviously making gains on that. You know, you're capturing market share. What sort of trends are you seeing in cloud security, in this cloud security landscape right now? What's happening in the industry right now from a security threat standpoint?
Well, as you see, the latest right now is how AI is going to influence security, and both to defenders and to offenders, or the bad and the good guys, you know.
The blue team and the red team.
Exactly. So basically, AI is something that personally I see is coming to help us to defend ourselves better. But at the same time, it's also giving the bad ones different way to doing things. So we do need to adapt very quickly and being very ready to that new world that is coming. and use the only way that we can adapt is using AI. So it's use AI to fight AI.
You have to, otherwise you'll fall behind, I suppose, don't you? Yeah, and I think Google are probably one of the best positioned vendors in terms of the amount of data that you guys have. I think you're probably very well armed to benefit from AI innovation, AI technology. Yeah.
So yeah, again, yeah. I think the difference between defenders and offenders is companies like Google, which are obviously trying to help the good ones. They have such a huge amount of data, and AI and LLM models are based on data. So the more data you have, the better models you can build. So absolutely if you put that reasoning together, then you realize that we do have an advantage because that amount of data the hackers don't have.
Yeah, sure. So what advice do you typically give to GCP customers then to improve their security posture? Is there any, do you advise your customers?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you probably do. What are the top pieces of advice you typically give? I understand it's very general and every company is different, but, can you give us just some the top tips sort of thing?
So, obviously I think when a company is thinking about moving to the cloud or moving more workloads to the cloud or starting, so either companies that have right now starting working on cloud or that been working for a while, security should be first and foremost. And I've seen a big change on that. But 4 years ago, all the transformations to cloud forgot about security. And they come later and they actually start thinking about it when sometimes it's too late. So my main advice is always make security a part of your project from design. And make sure that for the moment that you are thinking on moving certain parts of your business to the cloud, you have a big point in which you talk about security and in which you think, how is that going to be secure? Obviously, GCP, and I say it because I'm from Google, but it is an elder data. It's the most secure cloud and is the one that has less vulnerabilities by the numbers that have been put publicly. But it's always need to think, because in security we always say it's not about if it's going to happen, it's about when and how you're going to react to it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's really good advice. The thing is with it, Cristina, it's just such an evolving picture, isn't it? And there's new threats coming out there's new threats emerging all the time. And I think it's staying on top of those threats, which is the challenge, isn't it? Are there any innovations or updates or anything that is in the pipeline right now that you can potentially talk about?
Well, I think as I was saying, the use of AI is going to change the way that we do security. And basically in Google Cloud, we are embedding AI to all our products. And that makes a huge difference because the amount of data that you can process right now, and, it's the needle on the hack, how to find it. Now, the amount of data we can process and how quick can we actually make sure that we are not giving fake alerts, that is the right thing. It is going to help, or is helping already, the teams that are overworked, looking constantly at fake alerts and constantly at things. When you are fine-tuning these processes to the point that maybe is reducing that noise from before 8 hours of work to now maybe 1.2 seconds, the impact that this is going to have in the security world is going to be huge. So for me, that is probably the main innovation. It's starting now, but we are constantly testing, and testing different scenarios and testing different things. And we are seeing incredible results in questions of speed and in questions of giving the right results. So not having any fake and errors.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to ask you to put your sales hat on now, Cristina, to give you that dopamine hit, okay? But I wanted to ask you about, we've already established GCP are sort of the challenger cloud provider. And you've already mentioned that you feel the security is stronger within Google Cloud than potentially other cloud providers. But could you just sort of tell us why you think GCP is a compelling option for a CTO in comparison to the other cloud vendors? What makes GCP different, special, and a really good option?
In my opinion, I think there are three parts. One is innovation. The other one is scaling. and the third one is security. So that can be like the three main things where I would think like GCP is top of the market. Like obviously innovation and the use of AI, as you said, is something that in Google we've been doing since 2008. So I think like the ways that we have experiment on AI, how to use it to different things, like nobody else in the world has done so much as Google has done already. And it's still a huge investment on it, like in quantum and in AI, which is going to have a huge impact, like on the way that the cloud is going to work. Then the second point is scaling. And in an economy that we have right now, in which we are all looking at the penny, you actually need to have a provider which is able to scale with you. I see many times where companies are saying, if I keep on investing in cloud or in security, I'm going to have to close the company because I don't have every profit that comes. It needs to be going back to kind of like that bad. I don't think that is the problem that Google Cloud has because we scale with the companies. And then, as I mentioned, security, which right now is huge, we've seen examples all over the press day after day. What is the reputational risk of a company being hacked? It's huge. I think like right now is one of the things that could damage the business of huge companies, financial entities. So they can't afford to take that risk. And there are reports that are being published constantly about vulnerabilities, and Google Cloud always comes on top. So if security is a priority, that should be your option. And if it's not a priority, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you covered all the bases there. Really, I think from a CTO's perspective, I think that's really good answer.
Are you buying now?
You've done this before, haven't you? Right? You've done this sales malarkey before. So I want to change gears a little bit. Okay, I know you're passionate about diversity in the workplace, inclusion, and obviously as a female technology leader who's excelled into a senior leadership role. I wanted to ask, in terms of what advice you would give to ambitious females working in the tech sector from the benefit of your experience. What advice would you give when you were at Salesforce, say, back then? What advice could you provide based on your experience over the last 10 or so years?
Yeah, I mean, I think something that is not very normal in women and men do very well, it is being an advocate for yourself. And I think like they say in many times where I think there's a lot of data saying that women will never ask for a promotion, even if it's like extremely prepared for it, while a man will ask for it, even if he's not prepared.
Do you think that's a confidence thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is the way that we've been educated. Like we've been kind of like always educated to be on the back and kind of like saying, I don't know, in Spanish we have even a say that said, when you're quiet, you look more pretty. It doesn't translate to English, but it's kind of like that. That's kind of the generic feeling of like, you want to be a good woman, be quiet and be on the back. I think that's kind of like the glass ceilings that we need to break. Don't be afraid. Like you want to get promoted. Don't wait until you have 5 masters and have done the job 150%. Just go and express and that is the change I did. Like back when I was in Salesforce, actually, is when I changed my gears in that sense. And I kept on saying, I got a lot of criticisms of like, you're extremely ambitious, it's difficult, or things like that. I don't care. I mean, and that's kind of like the toughest thing. And the advice I will give to every young woman is like, don't care for that things. That are not advices or that are not things that are going to help you. Just think about your mission and focus and go for it and ask. If you don't ask, you don't get.
That's really useful insight. But it's just quite strange, Cristina, how I saw something recently that it was still only, I'm talking the tech sector. I don't know if this was just the UK or globally or European, but let's say I'm pretty sure it was the UK, but it said basically 26 to 28% of in the technology sector were female still. It just doesn't make any sense as to why there's not more of a healthy gender split. Do you have any And partly it could be because of gender stereotypes and young girls being almost expected to go into traditional careers. That they would in the past. But yeah, did you have any thoughts on why that is still not closer to 50-50 in terms of the technology sector?
I mean, I think it's a combination of many things. Like even in security, it's even less than that. It's about 5.7%. So
wow.
The numbers are absolutely crazy. I think it comes from the school for the lack of like technical careers, the lack of pushing like girls into that type of like STEM type of careers, the fact that they don't have enough role models, the fact that you think about the best business people in the world, they're all men. You think about the best startup CEOs, they're all men. You look about board of directors, they're all men. How many people can you name as a role model for like a 12-year-old girl which is thinking I'm going to do an IT career?
Yeah, no, that's true.
There are many role models, but they're not public. Like I keep on seeing all these like forced list of like the 100 women more important, and you see 30 of them are actresses. I think like we do have as a society a compromise to give more visibility to women that are, and there are plenty of women in the world doing this job very well, but they're very hidden.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's look, I do think it's changing. I'm seeing more women in leadership roles. We talked about Helen Kaliski, who's been on the podcast before in Google Cloud, yourself. And I mean, I'm seeing more and more females in senior roles, certainly within tech companies. I think the tech industry is probably a bit more progressive than a lot of industries. But I think we still need to keep pushing this until that balance is closer to 50-50. But can you maybe give us some insight, Cristina, in what you are doing with your teams and what Google Cloud are doing to ensure a more even gender balance within the company and within your teams?
Me personally, I do have a huge interest in mentoring. And I do tend to mentor like young talent, which is usually female or a diverse background. Like every 3 months, I kind of like take 3 or 4 people where I would be like mentoring through their careers and everything to try to help them achieve, certain milestones or whatever they want to. That is what we do personally. And I think like in Google, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of mentorship and a lot of people like me, which is very interested in developing that and making sure that we don't forget about that female talent that is starting and is eager and it wants to do things correctly. But then at the same time, we do take a lot of interest when it's about looking for the right candidate. And we try to find that the pool of candidates that we have is diverse, that we are not always interviewing the same type of people. And if there's always questioning about it. Like, so as a leader, you do need to question, is this the right person for the role? We're making sure that it's not only the experience, but we are looking for an attitude, or we are looking for a different point of view, or we're looking mainly to have a more diverse team. So we celebrate that, and we make sure that when we have them on the team, we actually take care of that, as I was saying, to make them more vocal or to teach them how to do certain things. And there's a zero tolerance with any attitude that will come and will kind of create inequalities and things like that. That's zero tolerance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Very, very well said. I think we could probably go off on that tangent and talk about that for an entire podcast, Cristina. But I want to move on to AI, Cristina. And we've talked a lot about AI within your product set and within cloud security generally. But what I'm really interested in is to get your thoughts or to ask you, what are you most excited about in terms of AI innovation in the last couple of years and large language models like ChatGPT and Google Gemini? What maybe impact of this incredible technology excites you most?
Personally, I think what I'm super excited is about the use in medicine. And this is like, of course, nothing to do with my field or anything, but I think the impact that that's going to have on the world, the way that we are going to be able to treat things like diabetes or like cancer in kids, or like that is, I mean, it gets me really goosebumps because I've seen certain things that like Verily, which is another company of Alphabet, is doing. And yeah, this is going to make the world a better place. And it's something that we all going to be benefit from it. And I can't wait.
So many things are going to become automated that what I'm excited about, Cristina, is that I think menial tasks, things that absorb time, are going to be automated so that we can focus on solving better quality problems. Does that make sense? We can channel our time on things which matter, so we can get more efficient. Can you maybe give us a little insight in terms of not Google Cloud specifically, in terms of Gemini and Google's general AI strategy? What stands out for you as being particularly exciting in terms of Google's impact on developing AI technology?
Well, I mean, I think like AI is everywhere in Google right now. It's a priority, it's a premise, and it's going to be applied to everything we do. So if you imagine the 1,000 processes that we carry in Google, from the search to the YouTube videos, to the Google Cloud products, to the security product, and you apply efficiency in all of them to make them quicker, to make them more efficient, to go it's absolutely amazing. We do have so many ways, in the maps. I don't know if you've seen it, the way that I was yesterday doing some project, I have to send a huge deck with certain things. And then I don't know if in the site now they put all these suggestions, hey, I suggest you to do this and to do that. And where I usually would have taken 2 hours, yesterday I did it in 20 minutes. And it's the first time I use it. And I was like, oh my God, I love this. It's like what you are saying, that certain things that is going to improve how we do normal stuff, so we can put our time in having fun or doing certain things that are more innovative or more creative, and forget about what is really tedious. And that in Google right now is moving like this. So every day we get new things, every day we get new advances, and I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. And do you know what? I've started using, and I'm sure there's a Google version of this available, but I was using OpenAI. And basically on the Android app, because I got an Android phone, so that's a tick in the box, you click the headphones button, basically, which means you talk to converse with the model you talk. It's a chat bot. And I needed to write a strategy for partnerships for our company. And I was just having a conversation with a robot to sort of get towards the strategy, and we just sort of hashed it out between us. And then I said, oh yeah, so can you write that strategy for me in a concise way in UK English, please? And and it wrote it. It was brilliant, and I didn't have to make that many changes. You've always got to have a human layer. You've got to. But I mean, that's just mind blowing, isn't it? I mean, that I can have a conversation. I was making a coffee in my kitchen, talking to a robot about strategy. Can you believe that? Someone told me that 10 years ago. I think you were mental, but there we go.
Next, you will have a robot making you the coffee.
Oh, that would be brilliant. That would be great. You're a busy person. Obviously, you've got a very, well, I don't know if it's high stress, but it's certainly a lot of responsibility in your job. How do you achieve balance in your life to ensure that you don't burn out and, you achieve how do you achieve balance in your life?
So usually it's when I cut. So I tend to, and this is something in my team, I think we do it very well. We respect very much the times that we are not at work. So when I'm at work, I full and I don't have any distractions and everything like that. But at 6 p.m., that's my kids' time. And from 6 p.m. until the time they go to bed, then my full attention is on the kids. And I don't think about work. And you can actually, the whole Eiffel Tower can be falling down. I don't care. I'm playing football with my son. That's it.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I think that very strict, because I have to be extremely strict on that, of separating what is
and it's hard,
personal.
Isn't it?
It's hard. And I keep on giving out. Somebody called me or something. I'm like, not now, not now. And you know that the first time that you sleep, then that's it. But no, the weekends are my weekends, are with my family. And I think that is great, because it's something in Google it's been respected a lot, and it's part of the Google culture. But I also think for your mental health is extremely important. And if somebody some people from my team I understand they're working during their holidays, something I will give out to them. Just like, don't.
Yeah.
Because, it is not productive. It's not good. Like, we need to take care of ourselves first.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you're trying, certainly from a leadership standpoint, if you haven't got your own house in order, how can you advise other people and lead them, So yeah, no, that's fantastic advice. Let's finish on this one then, Cristina. I don't know if you're much of a reader, maybe a book, or if not, maybe a story or a documentary or something. What piece of content have you been inspired by recently that you could recommend to the listeners?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I can recommend. I'm watching The Walking Dead, which I know is not.
Oh, wow, okay.
But I started like recently. So I'm going like 10 years behind the rest of the universe. But at the end, now me and my daughter, we know that we keep on saying who's going to survive and who's not. And we do classify people now that, with the zombies come, you're not going to survive with that attitude. So it's kind of like, it's an interesting way to see something that keeps you extremely occupied and that you are more worried about them than you are about yourself. So.
Brilliant, Cristina. Thank you so much for coming on the Tech Leaders podcast. I've really had a ball. So yeah, thanks for being so candid and telling us about your extraordinary career.
Likewise, Gareth. Thank you so much. It was great.
Wow, what a great episode. I so enjoyed that. Cristina is such a personable and humble individual, and she was refreshingly candid throughout our conversation, which just felt very natural, which was brilliant. Her perspective on the future of cloud in light of AI innovation, which really I thought was really interesting, where GCP fits into the cloud landscape as AI takes hold and starts to really affect cloud vendor strategy. Google has been embedding AI into all of its products for quite some time. They're a major player in the AI space, which dates back to a long way back. Obviously, GCP has been going since 2008. I'm sure AI has been in the conversation since the beginning, but it's really starting to take hold and embed into their products now, which I think could give them a bit of an edge over the competition. While Google Cloud are still behind Amazon and Microsoft in the cloud vendor marketplace, it seems clear to me that the future is bright for GCP as we move into more of an AI age. So I think, but it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out over the coming years. Thank you so much for listening. Please don't forget to give us a like, a subscribe, and perhaps share it with a friend. Every little helps and enables us to bring you more great guests in the future. Thank you so much. This episode was brought to you by Be Digital. Be Digital support leadership teams to optimize cost and get more out of technology investments. Be Digital and the team have unrivaled expertise with technology license management and data remediation, and are therefore perfectly positioned to help prepare organizations for AI technology capability. And on the last point, Be Digital have just developed a cutting-edge AI readiness assessment, which provides tech leaders with a platform they need to make well-informed decisions about AI adoption strategy in 2024 and beyond. Go to Be Digital UK to find out more and get in touch.